Hi everybody, and welcome to today's show. Today we're going to start part 1 of the CNC controller box build. This is for 4-axis, and this is to build my box. Yours may be different, but if you want to build one like this, not necessarily all the components that I added in, you're going to need enough room to install an ATX power supply, 2 36 volt 10 amp power supplies, 4 drivers, and a breakout board, and at least 2 power strips to separate your power. The other 3 relays I have in here, those are my own options to control lights and different things, and we'll get to that. So the first step you want to do is, whether you buy a metal case, you build a metal case, or you use a PC case, is you're going to want to make sure you have enough room for the minimums, which is everything I just showed you, plus you're going to want at least a couple fans. On this case, I have 1 fan blowing in and 1 fan blowing out. I'll show you first today how we take an ordinary ATX power supply and we make it usable for our power sources and controls, as I did in mine. You don't necessarily have to do this in yours, but this is the way I chose to do mine. That way, when I turn on 1 button in the front over here, it turns everything on. Find one that's working. Then take all the wires coming out of it and cut all the plugs off. Cut your wires as long as possible. Then, whether you use a terminal strip like I have here or not, that's your decision to make. What you're going to do is take all your blacks and all your yellows and all your reds and separate them. Then any remaining wires, fold them back out of your way. Start with those, because the yellow wires are your 12 volt and your red wires are your 5 volts. What I did was pair 2 black wires with 1 yellow. Then I paired another 2 black wires with 1 yellow, another 2 black wires with 1 yellow. This green and black we'll discuss in a moment. Then, knowing I wasn't going to use much for 5 volts, I had 6 red wires. And those are your 5 volts. So what I did is I put 3 under one strip and 3 under another. And then, as you see, I also put 2 grounds to pair with that one and 2 grounds to pair with that one. And that's the start of dividing your power up for 5 and 12 volts. The reason I did that is I needed 5 volts to run my controller board. On the 12 volt side, I decided to add in some of my own relays, which are 12 volt relays. So I utilized the 12 volts since I wasn't going to use them anyway. And we'll get to this later on, but all these relays do is power up other items, trouble lights, things like that. So next on your ATX power supply, and I'm going to try to find the schematics that I found. You should have a green wire coming out of it, and then any black wire. And what that is, that's your switch to turn this power supply on. So what you do from your switch, on the load side, which we're going to call this side the load side, because that's your power supply, so that'd be your line feeding in. And you run this to your switch. And I bought just a plastic rectangular toggle on and off switch. And what that does, when you turn on your power, it senses the signal in here of the connection, and that fires this up. And in return, this feeds the power out on your 5 and your 12 volts. So that's what you need to do for your first step. So to review, find a good working power supply, get yourself a toggle switch of some kind, cut all the wire ends off of the wiring, separate all your yellows, reds, and blacks first. I suggest doing that. Fold the remaining back out of your way. Pair them on your terminal strip, however you decide. Of course, you're not going to be requiring a lot of power off these, so it doesn't really matter how you pair how many blacks to reds and yellows and so on. Once you get those landed in your terminal strip, I chose to use the center part right here for my switch. On the ATX Power Supply, it should be green, and then just take one of your grounds, your blacks, put it on your terminal strip, and then come out directly to your switch. That there will power up your power supply and send power to where it needs to go. Okay, now at this time, since this should be pretty much a no-brainer, I'll post a picture of the type of switch I used. I should have one, or I'll find an image online. That's step one.